My name is Rachel Carter, and I'm 36 years old. For most of my life, I thought I was doing everything right. I lived in Portland, Oregon, where I worked as a marketing executive for a respected firm. To anyone on the outside looking in, my life probably seemed perfect. I had a successful career, financial stability, and a reputation for being professional and polished. People admired the life I had built. But beneath the surface, I knew there was something missing, a deeper connection I couldn't quite name. I went to church every Sunday, volunteered when I could, and tithed regularly. I wasn't shy about talking about my faith either. But if I'm being honest, my relationship with God wasn't what it should have been. It was more of a routine, a habit. I was checking the boxes, but I wasn't living with a true understanding or love for Christ. That all changed on December 12th, 2023. It started like any other day. The rain had been coming down steadily since early morning, and the roads were slick, but I didn't think much of it. I was on my way to an important client meeting, driving the same familiar route I'd taken countless times before. My mind wasn't on the road, though. I was running through my presentation, strategizing how to make the biggest impact. As I approached the intersection at Pine Street and Fifth Avenue, I had the green light, so I kept going. But out of nowhere, another car ran the red light. The crash was instantaneous. I didn't even have time to react. The last thing I remember was the deafening crunch of metal and the jarring sensation of my car spinning uncontrollably. And then, everything went black. The next thing I remember wasn't darkness or pain. It was floating. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my body anymore. Instead, I was hovering above the crash site, looking down at the chaos unfolding below me. It was surreal, like watching a scene in a movie. I could see everything with perfect clarity, far more than I ever could have seen with my physical eyes. My car was mangled, crushed beyond recognition. The paramedics were working frantically to pull me from the wreckage. I could see their determination, the way their hands moved with urgency and precision. The concern on their faces was palpable. Bystanders had gathered nearby, their expressions filled with shock and worry. I could even smell the faint, metallic scent of gasoline in the air, mixing with the dampness of the rain-soaked pavement. Despite the horrific scene below, I felt no fear. I felt no pain. In fact, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. It was as if the agony I'd experienced just moments earlier had melted away, replaced by a calmness that I can only describe as supernatural. I wanted to reach out to the people below, to let them know I was okay, but I couldn't. I was simply an observer, watching it all unfold. Then, gradually, the scene began to fade. The shouts of the first responders, the flashing lights, the crumpled metal, it all started to dissolve into darkness. But the darkness wasn't frightening. It felt like a transition, as though I was being drawn towards something far greater. That's when I noticed it. A light. This light wasn't like anything I had ever seen before. It wasn't just bright. It was alive. It seemed to pulse with energy, love, and purpose. It called to me, and I felt myself moving toward it, completely captivated by its warmth and brilliance. As I was drawn toward the light, I realized that it wasn't just light in the way we understand it here on Earth. It was alive. This light pulsed with energy, but it wasn't overwhelming or harsh. Instead, it was warm, inviting, and filled with a love so powerful it seemed to wrap itself around me. I could feel it pulling me closer, not with force, but with an irresistible sense of belonging. It was as if the light carried a truth, something far greater than anything I had ever known, and I was being invited to step into it. The closer I got, the more I realized how much comfort and peace the light held. It felt like it knew me, like it understood everything about me, all my flaws, all my struggles, and still welcomed me unconditionally. It wasn't just calling me forward, it was drawing me into something I can only describe as perfect love. And then, I heard the music. It started softly, like a gentle hum in the background. But as I moved closer to the light, the music grew richer and more beautiful. It was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. Thousands upon thousands of voices were singing in perfect harmony. Some of the melodies were in languages I recognized, but others were unlike anything I'd ever known, divine and beyond human comprehension. The music wasn't just something I heard, it was something I felt. It resonated deep within my soul, filling me with awe and an overwhelming sense of connection. It was as if every note, every harmony, was a part of me, and I was a part of it. For the first time in my life, I felt completely at home. I felt like I belonged to something far greater than myself, something eternal and indescribably beautiful. And then, I saw him. Standing within the light was Jesus Christ. I can't fully explain how I knew it was him. There was no introduction, no need for words, I just knew. He was more real, more vivid than anything I had ever experienced. His presence was overwhelming, but not in a way that frightened me. It was like being in the presence of pure love and absolute authority at the same time. When I looked into his eyes, it was as if the entire universe was staring back at me. His eyes radiated love so deep and profound that it took my breath away. But there was more. His eyes also carried wisdom, as if he saw through every part of me, and authority that made me feel both comforted and humbled. In his presence, I felt completely known. Every flaw, every fear, every mistake I had ever made was exposed. It was like my entire life was laid bare before him, and there was no hiding, no pretending. I felt vulnerable in a way I never had before. But here's the incredible thing. Even though he saw all of me, the good, the bad, the broken, his love for me never wavered. It wasn't conditional, it wasn't distant, it was personal, intimate, and unwavering. I realized that he didn't see me as the person I thought I was, with all my shortcomings and doubts. He saw me as the person I was created to be. He looked at me with a love so pure, so complete, that it made me want to weep. In his presence, all the fears and insecurities I had carried throughout my life seemed to vanish. They didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was him, and the love and truth that radiated from him. Then Jesus spoke to me. His voice wasn't loud or forceful, but it carried a power and authority that shook me to my core. Every word he said resonated deep within my spirit, as if it was imprinted directly onto my soul. He began to reveal a truth that I hadn't fully understood before, a truth about the future and the dangers awaiting humanity. Jesus told me about the mark of the beast. He showed me that the mark would not appear as something sinister or evil. Instead, it would be disguised as a solution, a necessity that people would accept without hesitation. It would be framed as something beneficial, a way to ensure safety, convenience, and participation in society. I saw glimpses of how it would be presented to the world, as a practical and even compassionate solution to global problems. People would be told that accepting it was the right thing to do, that it would make their lives easier and protect their families. But Jesus revealed the truth behind it. Accepting the mark wouldn't just be a physical act. It would be a spiritual choice. It would signify a turning away from God, a rejection of his love and truth, and an alignment with forces of darkness. The most terrifying part was how subtle the deception would be. It wouldn't come with a warning label. It wouldn't feel evil or threatening. Instead, it would appear so reasonable, so necessary that many would accept it without ever questioning what it truly meant. Jesus stressed the urgency of spiritual preparation. He told me that humanity must wake up to the subtle deceptions already at work in the world. People needed to open their eyes and their hearts to his truth, to seek him with everything they had, and to remain vigilant. Then, he gave me a mission. "Go back," he said. "Share what you have seen and heard. My people must be prepared. Time is short, and they need to draw closer to me." His words filled me with both a sense of responsibility and a sense of purpose. I knew I couldn't stay in the light no matter how much I wanted to. I had to return to my life and share his message. This wasn't just about me, it was about helping others wake up, draw closer to God, and prepare for the trials ahead. Before I was sent back, Jesus showed me something else, something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. He showed me a glimpse of heaven. I can only describe it as a place of overwhelming love, unity, and divine presence. The light and music I had experienced earlier were just a glimpse of the infinite joy and peace that awaited those who were aligned with God. It wasn't just a destination, it was home. It was everything my soul had ever longed for but never fully understood. In heaven, there was no fear, no pain, no division. Everything was in perfect harmony, united in the presence of God. I felt a love so deep and unconditional that it brought me to tears. It was as if I finally understood what we were created for, to live in perfect relationship with Him and with each other. But then Jesus showed me something else, something much harder to bear. He revealed the spiritual state of humanity. I saw how so many people are distracted, consumed by materialism, fear, and the endless pursuit of worldly success. These things weren't just occupying their time, they were pulling them away from God, slowly, subtly, but powerfully. I saw how fear had taken root in people's hearts, driving them to trust in earthly solutions instead of God's promises. I saw how materialism had become a false god, leading people to value possessions and status over love and truth. What struck me most was how unaware people were of what was happening. It wasn't that they were actively rejecting God. They simply weren't paying attention. They were so caught up in the busyness of life that they didn't see how far they had drifted from Him. Jesus' love for humanity was clear in every word He spoke, but so was His urgency. He wanted people to wake up, to see the truth, and to turn back to Him before it was too late. The contrast between the beauty of heaven and the condition of humanity broke my heart, but it also filled me with a renewed sense of purpose. I knew then that I had been shown these things for a reason. And then, suddenly, I was back. I opened my eyes to the harsh lights of the hospital room, my body feeling heavy and weak. I could hear the beeping of machines and the muffled voices of medical staff around me. For a moment, I was confused, disoriented by the contrast between the peace I had just felt and the noise of the world I had returned to. I learned later that I had been clinically dead for 7 minutes and 23 seconds. 7 minutes might not seem like a long time, but what I experienced in those moments felt eternal. As I lay there in the hospital bed, I realized that I wasn't the same person who had gotten into her car that morning. Something inside me had changed. My body was weak, but my spirit was stronger than it had ever been. I knew why I had been sent back. Jesus had given me a mission, and I couldn't ignore it. I felt an undeniable responsibility to share everything I had seen, everything He had shown me. This wasn't just my story, it was a message for everyone who needed to hear it. Since that day, I've been speaking publicly about my encounter with Jesus, about the love, truth, and warning He shared with me. I've been urging people to wake up, to deepen their faith, and to prepare spiritually for the challenges ahead. This experience wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. It's a reminder that life is fragile, that our choices matter, and that we need to stay close to God. We don't know how much time we have, but every moment is an opportunity to align ourselves with His love and truth. If there's one thing I hope people take away from my story, it's this. Don't wait. Don't wait for a tragedy or a near-death experience to open your heart to God. Start now. Seek Him, trust Him, and prepare your soul for what lies ahead. If this story moved you or gave you something to think about, please take a moment to like and subscribe to this channel. Sharing these messages can help bring more people closer to God's truth. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another testimony. And please share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you on your journey.